So here is the Crixus utility shuttle. You get it, Spartacus? Crixus? If you don't get that joke. So I installed our new ejection system, which you can kind of see in the middle of those two pieces there. So this is actually a cargo bay, which has a lot of pieces in it. In particular, it has utility slots for basically, you know, I've got the communicatron and stuff in there. So I'm going up to the space station we just launched, or the telescope that we just launched. I'm going to be installing or just a comm anything on it, basically, just something for it to be able to communicate back with Kerbal in general. You know, maybe other places too if we have off-world bases, but just a way for it to communicate. And in between that and the cockpit is our ejection system. I'll show you how that works in a minute. And those are some parachutes, and we have our procedural wings. In fact, the new procedural update for the wings is pretty sweet. Just, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Oh, Control Z. There we go. So we can get rid of this. J. There we go. I wanted to change this a little bit because I left this one purposely undone. So they changed the way that it edits how you can, you know, do all the adjusting on it. So I wanted to quickly adjust this, just kind of show you like the differences. Like my wing slowly tapers out, so you could totally do that. I wanted this to, hold on, let me, oh gosh, oh dear. I want this all to line up perfectly. There we go. And then I want that to taper off as far as how thick it is down there. And, oh, other way. So that needs to be at 0, 2, there. No, that needs to be at, aha, see, I figured out how I'm gonna do this. There. Okay, save. Okay, now I'm gonna do same thing with this one. On that, there we go. Now it all kind of matches the tapered nature of the wing itself. Cool. I like that. So we got our air intakes, we've got some basic, you know, engines. Got our fuel in the middle here, and it's pretty balanced. The center of lift, you can barely see it there, but it is in fact, you know, in the middle. And as we lose weight, it will go back a bit, so we'll have to do the kind of the same thing that we did the first time we came back in with the Spartacus, or the second time even as well, where we transfer the weight forward. So I'm gonna have to make sure I do that. But this thing flies really well. So let's quickly go launch this thing. I'm just gonna show you how the system works as far as the ejection system, because I mean, it's pretty sweet. It works really well. And then I'm gonna show you it getting into orbit. We're actually gonna go complete that mission, so that'll be great. Let's make sure that this is turned on. Presets. Is it using my... Why are you not using my preset? No! Okay, let me get this set up real quick. Okay, I finally got it working. Got everything back. Oh, it looks so maneuverable. It looks rad. Okay, let's turn SAS on. Let's get my camera, you know, in the general spot that I like it to be. Let's get our throttle up. And let's fly. So this thing in particular... camera chase for the time being. We're just gonna fly it. I have revert on for the time being. Come on, don't want to hit the engines. This is always kind of the tricky part here. There we go. Let's get our gear up. The thing in general flies pretty well. It gets up to speed really quick, which is always important, but even better than that is it maneuvers really well. So it's kind of like the Trident and all that, like our fighter jets that we made, except it's definitely meant for space. And it's running a little bit different setup. You know, this is definitely a utility vehicle more so than it is a military vehicle, which is what the other ones were. So I'm gonna change my camera around, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fly it with the keyboard for a moment. So I want to get slightly more thrust. I wanted to show you that this thing can really turn like on a dime, if I wanted to, but it's going to get out of control really quickly, and I'm going to do that above the Space Center, because once again I have revert on, so it won't be too horrible. And, you know, I know that I had turned revert off, but for this demonstration in particular, I'm going to turn it on. So let's get this thing kind of going nuts here. Up. I want to go up, 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 up. Okay, good. So there we go. Now we're going to hit 0. Ah. There we go. Look at that. So it's perfect. It's just like it shoots itself away and everything. All right, so revert to launch. So I wanted to show you kind of how it works real quick, because I know that I made it, you know, like an ejection system, but I haven't ever really shown what it does. So just real quick, you have 2 sets of boosters. You have one right here and one right here. This one shoots out that way. Oh, put the brakes on. This one shoots out that way, and this one shoots straight down. So what it ends up doing is it makes it kind of rotate crazy like you saw, but it does definitely get it away from the aircraft in 90% of the situations, which is better than it did before, which is 0. So yeah, that's how that works. There's a decoupler in the middle there, and then those are monopropellant tanks, which actually does help bring the weight forward a little bit, which is always really good. Okay, so let's get this thing into orbit, which, you know, kind of the same thing that we did with the Spartacus, but slightly different because it's a different aircraft. So hopefully it won't necessarily blow up in any way, and also hopefully it won't have any issues getting back in to atmosphere, like kind of like the Spartacus did. So let's just hope I've designed a better aircraft in general, I think. And this shouldn't hit the ground. Yeah, there we go. Just gotta be kind of gentle with it. The butt does hang out a little bit, which is kind of to be, whoops, don't want to throttle down too much, which is kind of to be expected for these engines. Like, I guess I could move it forward a little bit, but then I lose potential, you know, fuel space. I need enough fuel to be able to get into orbit, and it's really hard to do that if you kind of take away, like, for instance, if I took away this little part, or even this one, and then just move this forward, it would reduce the amount that the rockets hang off the back. However, the issue I then run into is that I don't have enough fuel to get into space. Wings are also running some fuel, believe it or not, which is a cool new feature of the newest update on the procedural wings. Okay, our typical exit maneuver here. Things to keep in mind is this aircraft is a lot lighter, because it's not carrying as much fuel, it's not carrying as much cargo. And the other thing about it is that I can do quite a bit more aggressive angle of attack like I'm doing right now than I was with the Spartacus, and have it remain fairly stable and also pick up enough speed. So it should get into orbit easier, and I should have just enough fuel to make my maneuver to dock, or not even dock, just get close enough to the thing where I could throw an antenna on it, basically, and then come back into the atmosphere. The other thing to keep in mind is if I run out of fuel, that's okay, because I'm able to use RCS to slow myself down, my orbit down enough to get back in the atmosphere of the planet. So I've reduced my angle of attack. I really want to pick up some speed, so that's pretty much what I'm working on right now. That's 17,000 meters. I'm up in that second stage of atmosphere, which is quite a bit thinner, which allows me to pick up more speed. Nothing too exciting. I do have like a slight roll to the left, which is, I think, because I have my cargo positioned a little weird in the cargo bay, so I'll have to fix that in the future. I'll have to make a mental note of it, but yeah, a slight roll to the left, which is a little annoying. I've switched to the keyboard for now because I just need to be really precise. I know that sounds like different than, you know, like an analog input would make you fairly precise, right? But, which is the controller, but I feel like my precision is a little bit higher on the keyboard because I can just keep hitting that button, just making sure that I'm on that line. In particular, because we're going to be trying to rendezvous with something that's in orbit And we need to be as close to the same plane as possible without having to make crazy trajectory changes as we go. So just keeping that in mind, I probably can get a little bit more of an angle of attack here as well. So our engines just switched over automatically. That was quite nice. No pit puttering, which sometimes it does that. It kind of like goes, then it goes in, and it makes your aircraft go all wonky sometimes. So I'm glad that that was not the case here. I check the map because we're fairly stable. Just gonna check my apoapsis. That's doing what it needs to be doing. Not sure we're gonna have the fuel actually. It's gonna be a close one, that's for sure. Can I get a bit more angle of attack maybe? Ooh, if we have the fuel, it's gonna be close, that's for sure. What I could do is I could put an additional fuel tank towards the front and have it running a little bit more fuel, but am I running? No, I can't run fuel on those control surfaces, I don't think. Okay, we want this at like 90, 100,000, right? That would be ideal. There's the 100. No, I want to kill all of my throttle, thank you. Okay, well, let's see here. Let's turn RCS on. That may start using a little bit of my monopropellant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp up a little bit. I want to get to my apoapsis. You see the angle is a little different on the telescope, so it's going to be a bit weird on how to actually rendezvous with it. But we should be able to manage it. Okay, so apoapsis, let's face ourselves prograde, and then we'll throttle up. That's why I have RCS on, just make sure that I can control. Now here's the test. Can we achieve orbit? We should be able to. Ooh, it's gonna be really close. I don't think we're gonna make it. We're not gonna make it. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so here's what we're gonna need to do. We're gonna need to bring the aircraft, because reverting is now off again. We're gonna need to bring the aircraft back into the atmosphere, which shouldn't be so difficult. This will make for a good test though, but I saved just enough fuel that we should be fine. We should be fine otherwise. Yeah. Let's turn RCS off, and let's go back out of there, and let's just do this. We'll go up and over, and then we'll start coming back into the atmosphere during the night, which is not necessarily good. Let's turn the lights on. Do I have any other lights? I might not. Also, you'll notice my electrical charge isn't going down. Part of that's because I have 2 solar panels on the back that are getting sun. The other part of it is the fact that I've actually got some of the generators inside the bay there. So they will generate electricity for me, which will be very nice. So either, you know, when I'm outside of the sun's influence or I'm just not facing the sun, either way I will be gaining electricity, which is really, really good. I think there's only like 4 or 5 of them. Probably only 4 of them in there, in the cargo bay itself. This is going to be a little bit tricky, it appears, but we should be fine. I'm going to turn RCS on just for a little bit more control here. Should I deploy air brakes a bit? Maybe I should. Let's get some air brakes going. As I said before, this should be a lot more stable coming into the actual atmosphere. Especially because I have RCS running as well, so that should help my control a little bit. I know I'm not, you know, stalling the wings at all, but what I'm attempting to do is just kind of slow down a bit, because we're coming in kind of weird, right? We didn't really achieve an orbit, so we aborted our orbit and are trying to come back in, and it's not necessarily the best. So I just got to be very careful coming back in. Oop, and this is when things start getting a little dicey. but we have the ejection system, so we should be fine. Just gonna keep that in mind. Oop, wrong way. But we should be able to hang on here. Everything's looking good. I probably should pull up a little bit to stall the wings out. And actually get back on track. Don't start spinning around, reliving my nightmare from the Spartacus re-entry, I think twice in a row. Pretty sure both times I've brought the Spartacus back into atmosphere, it's spun around somehow. All right, we're no longer on fire, and we are slowing down. Things have gotten a lot easier. Cool, so let's get our camera back into shape. Switch back over to the controller. Using multiple control methods here, which are helping quite a bit. Still, I'm not using any throttle whatsoever. I'm just trying to slow down. Trying to slow down and reduce my altitude because I need to land this thing and I need to recover it. That would be ideal. But again, I'm not really sure how I'm gonna get this. Maybe I should just add just more fuel somehow. More fuel tanks. I think that cargo bay is taking up a lot of precious space that I need. But I need that cargo bay, so I think I'm just gonna add another fuel tank because I think that would be the best thing. Put it more forward though, so it would bring the back out a little bit longer, unfortunately. But that would also change where the center of mass is, which will then change where I have kind of everything else situated. My wings will have to change places a little bit. We'll see. Maybe I can come up with a more clever solution to adding more fuel. I've turned RCS off, and I'm just gliding back in. This thing actually does a really good job of just gliding. Just being super gentle with it, basically. I should put some lights on the outside of this thing. I didn't think about that until now. I have some within the cargo bay itself, which is smart, you know, if you're doing space work, but I really need some on the outside. So multiple revisions need to be made with this thing, but, you know, I don't think we've ever made an aircraft and it just worked. I think we've always had to do something with it. So I'm not too surprised, although this thing is really freaking awesome. It's really nice to fly, actually. It's really easy, it's super maneuverable, and it didn't flip out when re-entry was occurring, especially at such a weird angle because of having to abort our just general orbit or orbit attempt. Now I have my air brakes up, right? They're definitely doing their thing, and I'm gaining quite a bit of speed still, or rather, I'm not slowing down too much. When I pull up a bit, obviously I'm going to slow down, but at the same time, I'm not quite sure. Like, are we just falling at this point, or are we actually gliding? Hard to tell. And we don't have any landing lights either, so it's going to make it very dark landing, very hard to do. All things that need to be reconsidered with the design of this thing. Just small, little, minute details. Like, well, I guess not enough fuel is not a small, minute detail, is it? It's pretty important, but not enough fuel, landing lights, you know, just like those little things that will make this a shuttle that we can actually reuse. An SSTO, single stage to orbit, that we're able to constantly reuse. The other thing is I have no idea what this terrain is like. It looks fairly bumpy, but we just need to be going slow, right? Like under 50 meters a second, and we should be fine with bumpy terrain. That appears to be some type of, it's really hard to tell, like some type of mountain. This all looks really hilly, like definitely right below us, that's a lot of hills. So I'm just gonna make it super easy, take it super easy, and try to reduce my speed by as much as I can, I think. The best thing I can actually do is probably just do some maneuvers here. And it will eventually reduce my speed if I can actually pull up. Come on. Okay, we're switching to keyboard and mouse. There we go. It's just not enough angle of attack on the controller. Has to be, I have the sensitivity kind of down on it on purpose. Also, I probably should turn off my air brakes because it's making it very difficult to maneuver. There we go. So it looks like off over here seems fairly smooth. Right underneath us is definitely a mountain. In fact, I think off over here might be better. That's not what I wanted. I want to turn the camera back to free. And I'll just do this the old school way. Okay, let's slow our descent speed. And if I need to, like I said, I've got a little bit of, what engine setting is this on? Closed cycle. Air breathing. There we go. If I need to, I can use a little bit left of that fuel. 12 units of fuel is not a lot as far as rocket fuel, but with air breathing engines, it's quite a bit. So we can get pretty far with this. We need to reduce our altitude. I know this is going to increase my speed, but yeah, I kind of need to start going down a bit more if I want to land anywhere off over in this direction. In fact, it's looking more and more likely that over here looks fairly flat. As we get lower, I'm able to kind of see a bit more. Like underneath us is still very, very bumpy. I'm starting to be able to make out a lot more detail in the terrain. Still want to reduce my altitude a little bit. This is looking like a really good spot to land, I think, if I can. I just need to do my best to figure out where the ground is. It's really hard to tell sometimes. I think it's a lot closer than I think it is. Yes, it definitely is a lot closer than I think it is. Okay, just don't go smacking into the ground. Let's put our air brakes back up so it's down a little bit more. Yeah. Let's turn it back off. Let's flip this direction. This sucker can glide. I'll tell you, I'm really happy with that design. Okay, the ground is coming up. Let's air brake a bit. Okay, well, we appear to be on a hill. The hill is going down. I don't know where the ground is. It's not underneath us. It's not underneath us. The safe thing to do would just be to abort. Whoa, pull up, pull up, pull up. Oh, jeez. Oh. Okay. Okay, we got this. Oh, man, that was intense. Good job, Bill and Jebediah. You guys are killing it. Recover. Whew. I'd be lying if I say my butt didn't pucker a little bit there, especially as I bounced off the ground. It's a light aircraft, so not too bad. Next. Okay. What did we need to add? We needed to add lights, and we needed to add another tank of fuel. So let's do that real quick. So lights are the first priority, right? We need some landing lights, like now. So utility, I want to get small omni lights for the outside. Boom, okay, that'll be good. I want to do just a couple larger ones on the actual hull of the aircraft so we can kind of see a bit better. And then I want to do landing lights. So we want kind of like 2 there, right? And then 1 up front. The landing light on front would also be very important for if we ever had to bail out during the night, figuring out where the ground is coming up from. Let's get that centered though. Perfect. Cool. So we got our landing lights. We've got hull lights. Now I just need a bit more fuel. How do I want to add this on? That's going to be the difficult part, right? I mean, yeah, let's You see all like the parts there? Okay, so I'm gonna have to do that slightly different. Let's grab this piece back. There we go. We'll do fuel tanks. And I wonder where the center of mass, the center of lift. It's not bad, actually. Surprisingly, it remains fairly similar. The only concern I have right now is that the gear need to move now. And be like right there. Oh gosh, I did not set that up right. No! See, I'm using the air intakes to hide it. That'll work. You can't tell. Perfect. Cool, that should work now. It's got a little bit longer of a tail, which means what I want to do is I'm going to move this up, just balance it out, and I'm going to move this control surface up as well to balance it out. Because, no, do I want to do that? No. I need this back a bit. It's kind of weird. There we go. Ugh, yeah. It's got a weird structure to it now. I may have to redo how these wings are sitting and everything. All right, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board a little bit on this one and see if I can come up with a more clever solution to get more fuel on this thing.